After an ugly first half that saw the Sixers down by 35, as many as 35 in this Friday night matchup against the New Orleans Pelicans, fought back all the way down to 5 in the final few minutes of the fourth quarter, unable to overcome that deficit, completely fall to the Pelicans tonight in this one for their third consecutive loss. Sixers lose 103-95. Hello all, welcome to the PHLY Sixers postgame show alongside Derek Bodner. I'm Devon Givens. Kyle Newbeck will join us live from the arena following all the postgame availability with the players and coaches. Brianna's producing. All of you in the chat after a tale of two halves of the frustrating nature of this basketball game, that as we sat there in the first half watching this game, the boos rained down in the center. Rightfully so, as the team really shot poorly. The effort was there. Derek and I were talking a little bit before and said, the effort was there, but the shots didn't fall. But when you do get down to a 35-point deficit again at home on the home floor on a Friday night, and shots are just missing and turnovers happening in that way where you defensively don't stop the other squad, then that will happen with the fan base just being upset and cannot take it anymore, voicing their displeasure, as we know here in Philadelphia. But they did fight back, cut it to 5 in the final 2 minutes of the fourth quarter. But the best player out on the floor tonight, Zion Williamson, made sure that in the end, the Sixers did not steal the win and give up, as Derek said, one of the biggest historical comebacks in NBA history.
Yeah. The biggest comeback in NBA history was 36 points. The Jazz, I think it was, in the 90s, erased a 36-point deficit to come back and win. Two other teams have erased a 35-point deficit. So this would have been just the fourth time in NBA history where a team came back from 35 down to win. And the Sixers obviously fell short. They got it to within 195 with under a minute left before a dagger three from, was it
Herbert Jones?
Yeah. Really closed the comeback. But it was a wild swing where, I was sitting there talking to Kyle in the first half while we were at the arena. And you were at the arena as well. We were all at the arena. Anyway, I was talking to Kyle, and I'm like, you know what? I want to get on after the game and just be really angry, fire and brimstone. Like, I feel like that's what they were down. I think at that point it was a 32-point deficit because there was 3 that wasn't yet called off the board. That's what that kind of a score felt like it dictated. But I really wasn't all that pissed off because it felt like they were giving effort. Like, it felt like they were rotating defensively. It felt like they were fighting for boards. They were driving to the hoop. They were just completely overmatched. And this was a Pelicans team who was coming in playing really good ball. They had the 4th best net rating in the league. They'd won 11 of their last 15. And the Sixers were without, we say it every game because that's the truth, 80% of the starting lineup, including the reigning MVP and another all-star, they were overmatched. And when you look at a game like this, you say, how are you going to steal a game like this? First of all, you got to give great effort, and you got to make your perimeter shots. And the Sixers were shooting 2 for 20 from three-point range at halftime. When you're at a huge talent advantage and you can't make a 3 to save your life, you're just not going to win. And were there frustrating moments? Of course. If I look at it, and the Sixers scored 34 points in the first half, it was a disaster. But the side that really pissed me off was defensively, not because there wasn't effort, because there was, specifically on the glass and the backside of the defense. They were rotating hard, but Kelly Oubre, Tobias Harris, a lot of the perimeter defenders were just getting beat off the dribble at every opportunity and putting the Sixers in constant rotations. So even though the rotations behind them were pretty sound, or at least the effort there was sound, when you get beat off the dribble a lot, you're just going to be compromised the entire time. And I think that's what you saw in the first half. But like I said, because the effort was there, it was just hard for me to really get super pissed off. But then you come out in that second half and they make shots and they start, the Pelicans went to a zone. I thought the Sixers did a good job of finding the gaps in the zone, finding driving lanes. The Pelicans have a real, they will collapse on line drives, give you open threes. I think the Sixers did a pretty good job of finding the kickouts to open threes. They just executed so much better. And when you combine the shot making with the improved execution and the effort you had in the first half, that was fun to watch in the second half. And I had no expectations coming into that. Like we were talking, like I said, I have no idea how to cover this. I think they gave you a pretty good storyline here. And it's obviously you're not going to come out with the win. 3rd straight loss. Got a couple of really huge games coming up here in New York. But talk about changing the narrative in what is still a losing effort. I think they changed the narrative pretty effectively.
Leaving the arena, as you said, and just for people who might say, well, Derek, how come you don't talk to Devon when you're sitting there talking to Kyle only?
We don't sit on. I sit next to Kyle.
Yeah. And I sit in a different seat, so we're not right next to each other, but we do talk.
It's not because I hate Devon. That's not what's going on here. Not at all. Here. In fact, if I'm being honest, of my co-host,
he likes me better.
Yeah,
it's just the bottom line. Sorry, Kyle. Even though we'll get to some good things about him a little bit later.
By the way, that is award-winning journalist Kyle Newbeck.
That's what I was going to say a little bit later. But yes, award-winning journalist Kyle Newbeck. So he'll join us a little bit later from the arena. But the thing for me was, as the Sixers were down at the half, and they were down big at the half, as Derek talked about the 32 points. It was 63-34, so they were down by 29 at the break. When I left the arena, I ran into a few people, and which was why, we got back to the studio when we got back to the studio, but ran into a couple of people, and I actually thought with the way things were going, as Derek talked about, there was effort. They were absolutely competing. They couldn't make shots. They couldn't really stop them even playing decent defensively. They had to play almost perfect basketball to do what needed to be done in the first half. Certainly that changed in the second half. But before we left and catching up with a few people, I was in the mind frame already that this team was going to be down by as much as 40 points with the way the game was playing itself out. Not because they didn't give the effort, just simply because they didn't have enough. They were overmatched based on what you had on the other side. When you're talking about two all-stars, someone like C.J. McCollum and Najee Marshall couldn't miss a shot. Everyone else was making shots, and they were shooting on the other side, 50% from the floor and 50% from the three-point line, and that's just where it was tonight for the New Orleans Pelicans in the first half. So on the way back, listening to the game and finally watching it when we got here, that changed. You can hear the effort on the radio call. You could see the effort when we got back here into the studio. That was a totally different basketball team than what we saw in the first half. And whatever Nick Nurse said in the after halftime going into the second half, it worked. The unfortunate part was it was too much and too late. They dug themselves too deep of a hole after being down by 35 in that first half to get to the point where, again, they had to fight and claw and scratch and not have any mistakes to overcome that huge hole that they put themselves in to finally walk away with the victory after losing their 2 games. But here we are now, losers of 3 straight. Now they're going into this really started it, the heavy part of the schedule without Joel Embiid, DeAnthony Melton, and others. We hope that Tyrese Maxey is back. We'll get an update on him a little bit later. But I thought that, Derek, when we left, 40, maybe even pushing 50 with how things were going.
No, I compared it. The one that it went to in my head was they in 2015, the night that they hired Jerry Colangelo and had the press conference for Jerry Colangelo. They lost by 51 to the Spurs. Mm-hmm. And I heard from somebody, I haven't had a chance to verify it, that up until the last basket the Sixers made in the first half, that was they scored 32 against the Spurs. So it was pretty much almost a mirror image of that game. And to your point, they came out then with a great second half performance, whereas the team back then essentially quit, lost by 51, and this team lost by 8. You don't want to take moral victories, especially when you're talking about trying to fight for playoff positioning, but that was a real good second half effort in a game where I think most teams probably quit, and I do give them credit for that.
That was one of the things that I did put in my notes. I didn't write a lot of notes in the first half, Derek, just because it was like,
they suck.
What am I going to say here with the notes? Yeah. They're missing shots. They're shooting 16%, right? And they're shooting 1 for 16 at one point from 3-point range. That's what I had written in my notes. But I also put in the second half, the Sixers did not quit. While the Pelicans probably, you look at this thing and you say, well, they took their foot off the gas a little bit.
They did.
They did.
Yeah.
But the Sixers did not quit. They took advantage of it, and they made sure that the Pelicans respected them at the end, where they had to really, really fight for the very end to pull away with the victory once again in this one. So with that, good effort in the second half. You're not really looking for moral victories, but when you're playing the way that they're playing, and when you're dropping the way that they're dropping in the standings, and when you're seeing what the others are doing around them as far as the seeding that we discussed on our Thursday show when we discussed the play-in tournament and what they might need to do to stave off Chicago and paying attention to the Indiana Pacers and others, they might have needed this to get ready for Sunday.
Yeah.
To take something good away from this game to carry it to Sunday. They're going to be in New York from Saturday until Tuesday night, where they needed to make sure that they did something to salvage, and have some, make sure that there's some respect when you look at the other players, your teammates in the room and the other locker stalls, and saying that guy fought, and Kyle Lowry's not playing in the end. Buddy Hield's not playing in the end. And why? Because Doughton is playing hard. Payne is playing hard. So they earned their right to be out there on the floor. Paul Reed, the same thing. They needed to do something, even though this was probably going to be a loss, even though they got as close as 5. And many people didn't think they would get that close, myself included. For what they did to fight back, that was something to take away, quite possibly, for the game, that the 2-game series that they have coming up against the Knicks.
Yeah. And even the people who were frustrating me in the first half, like I said,
it was ugly.
Tobias Harris was at least giving effort. Like, he ended up with 10 points, 19 shots. He does that very often. 5 3-point attempts. None of them went in. And again, I tend to give him the most credit when he takes early threes. They don't go in and he keeps taking them, because I just want to see that mindset. Even in players who frustrated me early, with the exception, like I said, of the first line perimeter defense, everyone else, I was okay with their effort. It was, like I said, it feels weird talking about moral victories, but I do think, to your point, being able to build off of that into possibly having a chance here with these next 2, including against the Knicks here on Sunday, and a game where you have a chance of getting Tyrese Maxey back. We spoke to Nick Nurse before the game, and we'll follow up with Kyle when he checks in from the arena, but I'm guessing they're not going to have any more of an update on Maxey.
Yeah. He was on the bench, though, folks. He was on the bench.
Nick Nurse said he was going through concussion protocol, progressing through it, and that he would go through a pregame workout. And Kyle and I sat there baseline watching him go through a pregame workout. The next checkup will be tomorrow, see how he reacts. Typically, when you have a game, a day off in a game, they don't practice, but I think because it's such a short travel, and because they might want to see how Tyrese looks, there's a chance they might practice tomorrow, so maybe we'll get an update there from that as well. But I don't think it's certainly ruled out. I think there's a chance that he could play on Sunday. And these last 3 games, if he's playing, they have a chance in all 3. And again, you're just trying to scrap and claw and get any win you can. Getting Tyrese Maxey back, this is very obvious, but it's also very true, would be a huge, huge boost.
Yeah,
huge.
35 and 28 right now. It would have been nice to see maybe 36 and 27, maybe 37 and 20, and 26 at that point. But this is where we are with this basketball team right now. So, yeah, the update with the fact that Tyrese Maxey was going through his warm-up and his workout, sitting on the bench in his street clothes for pretty much the entire game. He might have come out a little bit later in the first half, right, but he did come out there in the first half sitting there. The lights are bright in the arena. Didn't seem to bother him. He didn't have shades on or anything like that. So with him being out there, you would hope that after seeing the workout, as you guys saw, looking pretty good in the workout, that there's a really good chance that he could play against the New York Knicks, and they need him. Jalen Brunson did come back tonight after that 1-game absence with that knee scare that he had.
Jalen Brown was playing for the Knicks, and I missed something very major.
Then that would be a problem too, having him there on that basketball team. Jalen Brunson did come back, so they're going to need everybody, all hands on deck in that game against the New York Knicks, who did play tonight, and I don't know what the final score was, or actually right now they're leading in the fourth quarter late by 23 over the Orlando Magic, who have been surging in the Eastern Conference standings. So an important game for the Knicks. They're trying to get back to their winning ways. Good win tonight, as long as they hold on here with 3 minutes to go against the Orlando Magic. So with that being said, again, an opportunity for New York. It's going to be important for them to now knock off Orlando, where they are currently a game and a half back of them. So the 2 games against the Sixers are huge for the New York Knicks to make sure that they can jump over the Orlando Magic into that 4 spot if they do, in fact, take care of the Sixers over these next couple of games. So that's why, again, it's important for the Sixers to fight back the way that they did to get themselves in the mix. But we'll talk about a little bit more here with this game. Certainly things going forward with the Tyrese Maxey piece, what he might mean to the Sixers. We know what he means, but what it would mean to have him back and kind of balance things out a little bit. Some of the individual performances and what it might also mean going forward for this 2-game series against the Knicks.
Before then, we want to tell you about a couple of friends. If you're looking to get any flooring done, Empire Today is where you're going to want to look. With Empire Today, you get shop-at-home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a price match guarantee. Empire Today keeps shopping for floors simple with a curated selection. Their philosophy is to help you find what you need, not overwhelm you with thousands of choices and substitutes. What they leave out of their selection is as important as what they put in. Empire's product team exhaustively combs through thousands of product samples each year to find the perfect styles. And Empire Today has a virtual floor designer, which is a great way to see how new floors will look in any space. It's easy. Just snap a picture and instantly see how new floors will look in your room. Shopping for floors at a big box store can be frustrating. You might talk to someone today who was working in plumbing yesterday. Flooring is all Empire Today does. They live and breathe flooring, so you can be confident you're getting an honest, upfront advice. They also service their own warranties, so with Empire Today, you won't have to track down a manufacturer's phone number. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use a promo code PHLY. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/PHLY for details.
And we have to tell you about, as we get ready for the weekend, and you maybe want to sit down, it's supposed to be some rain in the area again over the weekend, so everybody stay safe, stay warm. With that being said, you might want to sit down and say, all right, the Sixers are off. Maybe, we'll check out the Flyers or something, and maybe read some Eagles news as we get ready for free agency, but you're also looking and saying, I'm looking for a new place. I might want to move here in the next few months. I'm feeling good about where I am right now, but I could feel a little bit better with a new home. And if you want to do that, make sure you check out our new sponsor here on our show, and that is our great friends from Mortgage CS. They offer refinancing options, including rate and term refinances for a rate payment reduction or cash out refinances to tap into home equity, making it a smart choice for those with high interest debt or funding home projects and education. I was talking about this just recently on the show where I was having discussions with both Kyle and Derek and Vince, our guy here, about maybe looking for a new home myself, and why not get into the right spot right here with the great people at Mortgage CS. The spring purchase market is almost here and heating up quickly. Many clients, of course, they check in and are reaching out as they, quote, want to be ready when the rates drop, right? And we're looking for those rates to drop. They've been pretty high, but you're starting to see it come down a bit. And with this, right, this is what everyone is doing. Given a limited inventory and strong demand, competition will remain extremely fierce this year. So get in touch with them to prepare and ensure you will be able to stand out and make the strongest offers possible. Mortgage CS, as we talk about them, stands for Mortgage Concierge Service. So that means white glove service. They're there for you at every step of the way, any time of the day, whenever you need them. They are, of course, they give the full control of the lenders they work with, available 24/7, and Mortgage CS is licensed coast to coast from Colorado, California, D.C., Delaware, Florida, Massachusetts, Maryland, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Virginia, and Washington as well. So if you have folks in those areas and you want to give them a little head nod here and a little hat tip, hey, this is the place for you to go. They are there to educate and empower clients as well. Again, 24/7 availability with the two owners, Alec and Ben. Alec and Ben are two great guys that you want to tap into. You had to tell you how to get involved with them in just a bit. Tons of easy-to-use tools to make the mortgage process more approachable. And when you hear the word mortgage, think of Mortgage CS. Think of Ben and Alec, and you can save Ben's telephone number. See how easy it is? Who gives out their phone number? Ben does. 267-391-7425. Save that into your phone. You can also email Ben at ben@mortgagecs.com. You can call, text Ben anytime, day or night. Talk Philly sports as well. Big, huge sports fan. Check out mortgages.com/Philly to get started with Mortgage CS. And again, white glove service.
Someone text Ben right now. Get his thoughts on Kai Jones and report back to us. Let us know what he thinks.
Right away. Ben, what's going on? And then while you're at it, I need a place in Conshohocken, right? Let's find something there. All right, let's talk about the center position because there was something good. I want to talk about a little positive, and we'll get to our super chats. We have quite a few of those. Paul Reed again, man. I mean, I was watching. You saw the effort as we talk about effort being there. He has some tough stints there early on. Really good stints, though, overall. I remember one play when Kyle Lowry was coming out of the game in the first quarter, and one little area here. He was going out of the game, first half, and he's looking over where Paul Reed is standing in the game, and he's really animated over something that didn't happen. But the one thing that I really like about Paul Reed is he will get yelled at a lot, whether it's from Maxey or Harris, Lowry, the coaching staff, but he's always listening. He's always attentive, and he never really bites back. You might see him verbalizing some things back to them, but it's always with a straight face, no argument, just trying to take all of it in. And tonight, coming off the bench once again, he finished with 17 points and 11 boards out there, 27 minutes and 23 seconds. Mo Bamba got the start. 18-19 he played, just 2 points and 6 boards, 2 block shots. But Paul Reed with 3 blocks as well. I thought he quitted himself really well once again coming off the bench against Jonas Valanciunas and the lineup that Willie Green placed out there for some of those other bigs.
Yeah, and I think Nick went with Mo in the starting lineup just because get a little more size out there
against Valanciunas. Right.
Yep. Not sure it necessarily worked or not. There's not only the height, but the physicality disadvantage that Mo was at. But I give Paul Reed credit for this. He has been in and out of the starting lineup. I think probably when Joe went down, he thought that was his spot. A lot of players can react negatively to that. Like I said, I question Paul's shot selection at times, his decision-making at times. I think he believes that he is more of a focal point offensively than he should be, although he's real good here, especially in the second half. But I never question his effort, and I give him a lot of credit for that. He was tough on the offensive glass. He was tough around the rim defensively. The Sixers still have defensive rebounding problems, but part of the reason they were able to get back in this game is that they did have that pursuit on the offensive glass. So I think he had a real good game.
6 offensive boards for Paul Reed.
I was dying at one point. He looked off an outlet pass to, I think it was Payne in the first half after getting offensive rebound, rose up confidently for a three-pointer with like 11 seconds left on the shot clock.
I was there too, and I saw it. I thought he wanted Kyle Lowry to do something else. Kyle Lowry was on the far wing. Payne was in his outlet right there, but it seemed like he was waiting for a different play to run. Therefore, he just didn't throw the ball.
Even so, Paul Reed going off script for a 0-pass 3-point attempt with 11 on the shot clock isn't something you normally want, but he made it, so we will overlook that.
He nailed it.
More importantly, his effort defensively on the offensive glass was there all night, and I give him a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, I do too. So sometimes in the past, I personally, when everyone would talk about B-ball Paul and out the mud and all of that type of stuff, and I always looked at him like, yes, I like Paul Reed too, but boy, is it an experience when he's out there on the floor. The experience has really come down. It's no longer that much of an experience. From time to time, you'll have the off-script things, but there were way more off-scripts. There was like, hey, Derek, we're doing this show tonight.
Right.
And then I would come in and change everything up. That was what Paul Reed was. Now it's just, I'll ad-lib for 2 things here, and that's it. But better results, though.
Yep.
This time around, this stage of his career with that ad-lib of what he is doing. So I thought he was good. I thought he was really good. And if you have to continue to bring him off the bench, I don't know who New York is starting. If Isaiah Hartenstein is playing in the game, I don't know if it's Jericho Sims or whatever, but bringing him off the bench, starting Mo Bamba, at some point, Nick Nurse might think to, rethink that and start just like, look, man, we got to start our 5 best and give it a go to not put ourselves in a hole like this. Not that it was all Mo Bamba's fault, but you also saw moments where, again, it was like, all right, get Mo Bamba off the floor. Yeah,
and we are getting to the point where Paul's playing consistently enough where once you get that big guy back, I don't worry. And I agree, we've mentioned this throughout the course of the year. You wouldn't mind having one big body just as a change of pace or matchup-dependent situation. But overall, if you're asking Paul Reed to play 10 minutes per game in the playoffs, I think he can do that. I think this is a situation where you need Drummond to be an innings eater more than you need Drummond to be a playoff solution. I do think if you can tread water, just find a way to get to the point where Embiid comes back. I don't worry about the center position all that much, but that's a big ask because there are still some games to be played here. And hopefully, we didn't get an update again on Embiid today. Hopefully we get one in the next couple of days because we are past that month threshold. So we will get a better timeline of what we're dealing with and when he might come back.
Another good performance for Kelly Oubre. Again, he scored the first 5 pretty quickly. Then he scored the next 2. I believe it was like 6 or 7. Then Paul Reed hit that mid-range jumper.
He was like the only one to score for the first 5 or 6 minutes. Yeah,
it was bad.
Yeah.
But in the end, he finishes with 20 on 50% shooting, 34 plus minutes, 7 boards, a couple of tough plays here and there down the stretch. But for the most part, again, Derek, all things considered, another good outing for Kelly Oubre.
Yeah. And what I'll give Kelly credit for is this. He was attacking the rim constantly in the second half. And he only ended up with, 20
on 7 for 18.
7 free throw attempts, missed a couple, which could have ended up being big. But like I said, the Pelicans went zone for a lot, and especially in that third quarter when it seemed like they were trying to play like a little prevent defense there.
Yep.
And what you really got to do when someone goes zone like that, you've got to find, well, first of all, you got to make your outside shots, what the Sixers finally started doing. And after going 2 for 20 from 3 in the first half, I understand why the Pelicans went zone, because why would you expect this team to shoot in the second half? But you got to make your shots, you got to swing the ball, and you got to attack lanes when they are there and gaps when they are there. And Kelly Oubre, as much as anyone, was filling those gaps. And again, Kelly, sort of like Paul, but to a much larger extent, can frustrate me at times with his decision-making and his shot selection. But today was an instance where I think that aggression was warranted. I think they needed that aggression, and I think he turned that into positive plays more often than he has. And quite frankly, over the last 4 games here, if they were able to pull off a couple of these, Kelly would be a pretty big story, because he has come through here over the last week or so with some pretty big performances that have been wasted because the rest of the team didn't necessarily follow him. And again, Kelly's sort of like, when we talk about, well, do you trust them going forward? It's sort of like Tobias. When Tobias has a nice game, do you trust him? No, I don't necessarily trust Kelly. Like, Kelly's had a long enough career. He's been so up and down throughout the course of the season, but you've gotten some big performances in spots now without Tyrese Maxey where you needed him, where you needed somebody to step up. And give Kelly a lot of credit, man. Like I said, if they could have pulled out 2 of these games, which would have been huge, we would be having a very different conversation. He would be getting a lot of praise, and deservedly so. They needed these big performances. It would have been great if they could have pulled some of these out. But I do give him credit for what he's done.
Man, when you talk about attacking, and late in that final 2 minutes, he had a play where he drove to the basket, and it looked like he had not a clear dunk, but the way he gets up and the way he is able to finish at the rim, I thought he had a clear 2 points, if not getting to the free throw line for 2 free throws. And then Zion Williamson came out of nowhere with an even quicker jump and blocked him at the rim. It was an outstanding play.
Yep.
Nothing against Kelly Oubre, because there was nothing else he can do. That was just a great play by a very, very, very talented player in Zion Williamson. In the guts when they needed it most to protect that rim, he made that play. But we're asking these players, when we talk about the positive things that Paul Reed and Kelly Oubre have been doing, we're asking them to play up a level from what we are used to asking them to do. And to Derek's point, had they pulled out 2 of these games, or even lost again another close one, but with winning those 2, the discussion is totally different about what Kelly Oubre has been doing. So the good Kelly has really been on full display. The other part too, Derek, even with Kyle Lowry, Buddy Hield, Tobias Harris, and Paul Reed on the floor, Kelly Oubre knows he's the best player. That's where he is right now. And it hasn't been a bad thing. Normally we're saying that's a terrible thing. But when we're looking at, again, asking them to play up and not knowing what you're going to get from the others, I think he's warranted to at least have the mindset of, I'm in a good groove right now. I'm the best player on our side of the floor at the moment. I don't mean the best player on both sides, because he does have that type of confidence. But he has been playing up to that level as the best player pretty much the last 3 outings here for the Sixers team.
Yeah, I would guess there's a lot of instances where Kelly believes that he is the best player on the floor.
I agree.
Probably way more than there should be.
I'm talking about the good run that he's having. Yeah. He has been the best, and he knows it.
And I think throughout the course of his career, that mentality has been a detriment to him. But I think over the last 3 games, when you have all the firepower out that you have, and when you're actually, because I all joking aside and all hate that he gets, I still think Tobias Harris is a better basketball player than Kelly Oubre, but he's not playing better throughout much of the last couple of weeks.
Yes.
And a lot of that comes down to mentality, but we don't have to get into that. But you need someone, especially if your quote-unquote best player, available player, is somebody who is going to take himself out of the game mentally. you need someone with that confidence to step in. This is one instance where, yeah, I think Kelly's aggression was needed.
Let's sneak in one super chat here, and then we'll get to a few
Davon's been
things.
giving us a little bit of love here, so we should probably bring him up.
All right, well, let's get to two super chats because he has two in there. Davon, first one that he threw up there was shaking my head. We've cursed since we took Sean Bradley over Penny Hardaway in '93, I swear. But I applaud the effort. If only we play it like that for 4 quarters. Getting yourself down into a 35.
I mean, that's not even right after there was also Mashburn. That would have been much better than Bradley too.
Well, that's always a big thing for me. I'll never forgive them for that one. I'm a big Jim Lynam fan. Got to know Jim Lynam over the years, working with his daughter Dee, and being introduced to the coach. And
that was a dark period.
Talking to the coach, he was in charge around that time too. And that Chris Webber, Penny Hardaway trade sandwiched in there is that Sean Bradley piece. I'll never forgive them for that.
Nor should you.
In the offseason, we're probably going to have some of those conversations where what's the one that you just never forgive them for? And that'll certainly be one of them for a lot. But we'll say
for me, it would probably be Larry Hughes. Just because there's so much talent around there.
Because Paul was supposed to go 3 to Golden State when you kept looking at all the information that was coming out around that time.
And the reasoning for it was like, oh, well, we promised him. Who cares?
Promised him and his mom.
So what? This is professional sports, man.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah. And then Paul goes right there to Boston, and, forever that changed a lot of things. One more from Davon. That out-of-bounds call on Payne was criminal. Well,
absolutely.
But you challenged the play before, and while it was criminal, the official didn't see it because I looked like Payne, wherever the official was, maybe Payne really blocked the view of seeing Herb Jones land on the floor. His toes hit the floor before he got rid of the basketball to throw it off of Payne. It's criminal, but you lost the charge. I mean, you lost the challenge before. Those are the breaks.
Oh, no. I mean, look, that's why you save challenges like that, 100%. But the refs at some point have to get the call right. And I thought the Pelicans, look, and I don't want to blame a loss on the refs because refs always make mistakes. But I thought Jones, like a minute beforehand, got away with a pretty bad travel.
Oh, big time.
Nance got away with a push-off on the same possessions. They didn't convert, I don't think, any of those into points. But there were a bunch of missed calls there. And
but you saved time on the clock. And you get the ball right back.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that out of bounds, like that could have changed the game. Like instead of going down and making a 3, Sixers get the ball back and put points on the board.
2.
All of a sudden, you don't have to try to go into foul mode. Like that could have changed the game. Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, tough. It's tough. But again, they challenged one that they thought they had where Paul Reed got the block. But what they didn't account for was Kelly Oubre smacked the offensive player across the wrist. And therefore, that's why they lose the challenge. And unable to make that on the very next possession down the floor after that one. I thought Payne actually had the layup, but he missed it, going up against 3 guys in traffic at the rim. Also, Payne played pretty well there tonight. But when we come back, we'll get into a few more of our super chats and a few other things here as we break things down with the Sixers once again falling this one tonight. Erase a 35-point deficit, cut it to 5, but they fall short in the end, 103-95. Ah, man. Tough.
Yeah, it was a real tough one.
Tough one.
But if you are having a tough night.
If it's tough.
Look, we got something for you. And if maybe you have some family commitments, I'm going to be helping some people move over the weekend. When you're done with something like that, there is a better way, a chiller way to handle that. And you can choose chill by reaching for an ice-cold Coors Light. It's starting to get real nice out there. Like I said, maybe that involves helping your family try to move. Maybe that involves just sitting out there on the back porch with a cold Coors Light. And it's Coors, or you know that the Coors Light you have is cold when you reach for the can because the mountains turn blue when they're as cold as the Rockies. Coors Light is cold lagered, cold filtered, cold packaged for a smoother finish. You trying to hand that to me to open that up? Like, what are you doing here?
Showing the blue mountain.
No? Yeah, honestly, that's a very nice feature on the can. You don't really see features added to cans.
You want me to put that back?
All right, you can do whatever you want with them. I'm trying to do an ad read here. All right. Coors Light is cold lagered, cold filtered, and cold packaged for a smoother finish. When it's time to chill, open a Coors Light. When you choose to rise above it all, choose chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/PHLY basketball. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Light Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
All right. Well,
I will definitely be tapping into a Coors Light tomorrow night. Like I said, I have a long day of helping family.
Yeah,
there will be a Coors Light in my
I wasn't sure
evening.
how far you wanted to go there.
100%.
Yeah, man. You need
I need a lot of Coors Lights.
You need that entire bucket for the last week that you've had.
That bucket, we have a bucket right here in front of us. That bucket is coming home with me.
You need that. You've earned that bucket.
I'm not even a real big drinker, but I will have a Coors Light.
And
tomorrow,
we don't have a game until late Sunday, so you can still have time to recover. You'll be good to go. You'll be good to go. Well, that being said, having that time to recover and you want to hang out with, I hang out with Derek. You want to hang out with Derek. You want to hang out with any of us. You got to make sure you become a diehard member here with PHLY. So many great things that happens when you do sign up to become a diehard. Podcasts and live shows on every team every day, of course, here, but you get post-game shows. You get premium written content from members at allphly.com as part of the diehard. 20% off events, dope merchandise for all the teams. Phillies, Eagles, Sixers, Flyers, Union as well. Free t-shirt when you do become a member, and members Discord only in the PHLY lounge that I am a part of. I'll tap back in there soon.
Participating member, but just a...
that's a slight issue there. Slight issue there. But with that, when we talk about events, you have an opportunity to join Charlie, Bill, and other PHLY diehards at the Center on March 14th as the Flyers take on the Toronto Maple Leafs in an Eastern Conference showdown presented by our great sponsors there. You see them right here over my shoulder. Look at those people with those great cans. The takeover ticket includes pregame meetup with the PHLY crew and a game ticket in the assembly room right near where we had our takeover at the Center for the Sixers game. You get to enjoy the game with the other diehards as well. Check out all of our upcoming events at allphly.com under the events calendar. Follow our PHLY Phillies team for details on opening day. Big stuff coming up with the Phillies. They had the trade deadline for the PHLY Flyers guys, Charlie and Bill. They had the show today at our great spot, the Chegg, man, out there. We'll be back at the Chegg soon, but they were there at the Chegg for the trade dedeadline. Show that they had earlier today. So hopefully
Chegg's a good spot. I truthfully enjoy going to Chegg.
It's a really good spot, man.
And I'm honestly really enjoying or hoping we go there when it's really nice out and warm out. And we can chill maybe a little bit before and afterwards, have a Coors Light there. Who knows? But I think that will be a good spot to go throughout the year.
The one that we have one in a couple of weeks. We'll tell you about it soon. But is that a day game? I think it's a day game.
I don't know.
I believe it is. I believe it is. So we might be able to. As long as the weather
I pretty much look a week in advance. Like I know next week's schedule, and that's about it, man.
Yeah, I'm bad at that.
I'm real bad. Especially when you talk about the Sixers schedule.
Way far out. I'll know the rest of the month. That's how bad I was about this stuff, and still am. But that being said, go sign up, diehards. Come on in. Come on in, family. Come on in. All right, let's check out some super chats and get to a few other things here in just a second. Bernard, what up, Nard? I understand why we got Buddy, but I don't believe Embiid will fix him. I hope that we go after DeJounte Murray this summer, offensively and defensively with that particular player. Thanks, Bernard. We've talked about the Buddy Hield stuff. He was really good when he first got here.
Yeah.
That has kind of worn off. Defense is figuring him out with this offense, losing Tyrese Maxey, also trying to find Tobias Harris, get him back into his rhythm. And the biggest part of it all is we still haven't seen him with Joel Embiid, where we expect him to be really at his best with Joel Embiid.
Yeah. Look, I disagree.
But he hasn't been good.
No, he hasn't been good, but I disagree with that. I think Joel's going to fix him, quote-unquote fix, pretty well. I think, like I said, when you start talking about, what's Buddy Hield? Maybe a top 70, top 80 player? Like, nobody's thinking he's a top 30, top 40.
Certainly top 100.
The top 20 players are context independent, like they can succeed almost anywhere. They might not reach their apex in certain situations, but they're going to be successful. They're going to be impactful. When you start getting into like the 40 to 100 range, they're very, very context dependent. And Buddy Hield has enough strengths that everybody knows about and has enough flaws that everyone can pick on, where the context that he's placed in is really important. And right now, there's just no reason for a defender to leave him on the perimeter to go help Kelly Oubre drive. And Kelly was good in the second half.
He was.
Even still, there's no reason to help off of in part because Kelly's never going to pass any, anyway.
Not often.
But there's just no reason to help off of a Tobias Harris drive or anything like that. You don't leave Buddy on the perimeter right now, and there's nobody with any kind of, they like to run like a flip play or ghost screens. There's no reason to overreact to a ball handler and give Buddy an ounce of space when you're talking about Campaign. And again, Campaign was really good here in the third quarter. You'll live with that over giving Buddy, because when Buddy's open and a catch and shoot shot, that's a 45% look for Buddy Hield. No team is going to give that up in a half court set when they can avoid it. And you need to get to a point where it is like, all right, well, would we rather give what's the base level where you would rather give Buddy Hield a 45% catch and shoot three? And it might just be your superstar MVP, 7-foot, 300-pound center rolling down to the rim of the basket. That's about what you need. When you get to the point where you've got Embiid coming off of pick and rolls and dribble handoffs, when you've got Embiid creating space for him, I think he's going to look much better. Not because he's necessarily going to be a different player, but you're going to be able to open up and unlock his strengths in a way that there's just nobody on the floor right now who can. And again, at that point, I'm going to be complaining about, his defense isn't good enough, things like that. But I think what he can do, at least he'll have a chance to really show.
Yeah.
And that's one thing, like when we talk about it's not like they had Embiid in Indy. Well, they had Halliburton, and they had the fastest pace in the league. And one way you get a three-point shooter going is you push an early offense, you get out in transition before the defense gets a chance to set, and he has a lot of open early offense or transition threes where the Sixers don't really do that. They're not built to run like that, in part because they can't get stops, in part because they don't have really great point guard play. They don't force turnovers. So I think there's really nothing right now that is opening up Buddy in a way that will be later on.
Getting a lot of Buddy is trash in the chat, and Buddy will be, fine. Coach Lowell Ricketts says Buddy will be fine alongside Embiid and Maxey, and that was where I was going to go with the Maxey piece. We've already seen him with Maxey, but when Maxey is out, what happens now is most likely he's going to get the number one perimeter defender. Kelly Oubre might get the number two, or depending on how each of them are going that particular night, you're going to get those guys. And when you're talking about the New Orleans Pelicans and they throw Herb Jones on Buddy Hield, Herb Jones is a top 15 type defensive player where if they had 3 teams in all defense, they only have 2, so you get 10 players. He would be, for a good part of his career, an all-NBA defender. He's had that reputation since his rookie season when they made their playoff run after trading for CJ McCollum. That guy is really good. So when you have that defender and another really good defender, let's say Najee Marshall comes in or Trey Murphy comes into the game, and you have, again, we're talking about those guys playing up to the level. When they're playing up to that level, they're also going to get that best perimeter defender too. And when they do that, you're going to get that kind of player on Buddy Hield. Not an excuse for him, just more of how difficult it is versus when he's out there with Embiid, Maxey, and even Harris, or Oubre, or Melton, and Buddy Hield is out there. He's going to get maybe the second or third, depending on how that goes. And we're talking about double teams on Joel Embiid, where now they're scrambling to get around to him, where he has that wide open three-point look. So I think he'll be fine. Right now he's having to play a little bit differently than what's expected. And for a lot of us, the way that we saw him early on when he first got here, he looked really good. And it was like, oh, damn, this might be something that we hadn't seen. Little playmaking there, leading the team in assists and all that stuff. That has gone down. Once again, scouting reports. The scouting report is already there for who he is, but it's also a scouting report when you're on a new team and how things are differently with different personnel versus being in Indiana or Sacramento for a couple of seasons before that, where they can really just defend you how they need to. So he'll be fine.
Yeah.
He'll be fine.
It's really sort of wild here because I remember when they first got him and he had those first 4 games and he was averaging like 24 and 8 or something like that. And we had a show and we're like, well, is Buddy Hield going to be the starter? And I said, well, you know what? My initial inclination is no, he should come off the bench, be a 6-man DeAnthony Melton start. You have more defensive versatility there. That lineup has had a lot of success. And a lot of people are like, this is the dumbest take I've ever seen. Of course, Buddy's a starter. Now you talk to people in the chat and they're like, well, no, he's not a starter. He can't start. He's not good enough. He's flawed, yada, yada, yada. And now I'm on the other side and it's like, well, no, Buddy, he'll be fine when Embiid comes back. He'll be a useful piece. Buddy's role here is not to create offense. Buddy's role is to make shots and put opponents in impossible decisions. And that impossible decision requires somebody else with the ball who can really create, whether that's Embiid or Maxey. That will happen. When you're trying to double Embiid, they will have to make a really tough decision. Do I help even a little bit, even a half step, even a stunt off of Buddy Hield and give him potentially an open look? That's what you need from Buddy. You don't need Buddy running pick and roll. You don't need Buddy trying to be an 8 assists per game guy. You need him to make the other team really, really think. Because hesitation is what ultimately kills defenses. And right now, there's just no reason to leave him. There's just none.
Money Mars says Buddy Bricks is his name.
Okay.
All right, let's go to our final super chat here. Kyle O asking, any wrecks around MSG going to Sunday's game for the first time? Any wrecks? Like what? Recreational gyms?
Recommendations.
Oh, okay. I was
He's
about to
looking
say,
for food.
we can talk about going to the gym.
I'm honestly
Let's go to the gym. That's where my mind goes. Is any gym before the 7 o'clock game?
That's because you haven't been able to play because
That's what got me in trouble. Yeah. With tearing my Achilles. Yeah. Any recommendations?
I'm awful with that. Whenever I go up there for a game, I end up eating in the arena. I am awful at that.
Yeah, same. Whenever I go
and
up
then
there,
when I'm up there,
I'm in and out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just go and leave.
Yeah. No, I'm truthfully like I'll just get like pizza or some garbage.
A lot of food trucks outside the arena.
Yeah.
I know that. A lot of food trucks outside the
arena.
And
honestly, there's just so much stuff around there that I don't go to anything twice. No, I'm probably the worst to ask for that.
Yeah. No recommendations. As far as recommendations for gyms around there, so you can go play some basketball.
No, he's definitely looking for food.
Got you a couple of those for you.
Okay.
Yeah. Just
that's not what he's asking for at all. But
that's what he's asking for.
I appreciate you helping him in a way that he doesn't need.
That's where my mind goes. That's what. Yeah. Right there. Right there. Yeah. A lot of food around the area though. Just pick one, and you'll have a good time there. So, also as we look at a few more, and before we get to Kyle, there was a report, since you mentioned Kai Jones a little bit earlier. Shams said that the Sixers in the coming days.
It's a good point. Winona in there in the chat chiming in. If you have a recommendation for him, because since we were pretty much useless on that one, please feel free to drop it in the chat. Help him out.
And look, Winona jumps in and says food court at Moynihan Sports Bar and Dallas Barbecue, 23rd and 8th Avenue in New York. So there you go. Thank you, Winona. Appreciate that for checking in, and drop some hints there in the chat for that question. Kai Jones. It was mentioned before. Gene is ready to hoop though. He said, "Let's go ball." Cool. Thanks, Gene. When I'm ready in the summer, I'm not cleared until this summer, so we can link back up at that time.
Okay.
As long as I'm good. Kai Jones. It was mentioned before in the chat where a few people earlier in the season were asking about Kai Jones. And as you said it for me, I'm like, no. The guy's on camera doing weird stuff and all kinds of crazy things in the offseason, and he has an opportunity to play some decent minutes with the Charlotte Hornets. He's blowing an opportunity unless he's trying to sabotage and get out.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what was going on. He went overseas, played a little bit, playing very well. We knew he was talented. We knew he was crazy athletic and a player that could maybe do something in the NBA and in the right situation, really help out a basketball team. And so the report from Shams came out a little bit earlier that in the coming days, the Sixers are planning to meet up with free agent Kai Jones, who was released by the Charlotte Hornets right at the start of the season before training camp. And with that, available for any team to look at. And right now, I don't know if it's because of obviously what didn't happen with the Andre Drummond piece, unable to acquire any other big man via trade, and nothing there in the open market at this stage of the buyout for big men. Desperation and just taking a chance on the player. Kai Jones is certainly an interesting name, and Al says, I think he's talking about the Kai Jones piece. Don't do it. Unless he's talking about get back on the floor and
you should not do that too early.
Making sure I'm healthy.
I agree with Al.
I'm not going to do that. Yeah. Not until my doctor clears me. Kai
it's
Jones.
tough though, isn't it? I'm really bad at following doctor advice. I broke my foot a couple years ago. I had that boot off in like 2 weeks. I was done with it.
No, I'm pretty good at it. I've been following the rules with my torn Achilles, my torn ACL 5 years ago. I'm pretty good at it.
I'm real bad.
I'm pretty good at it. But when the rehab happens,
I broke a thumb playing basketball back in college, and
that's easy.
That was off in a week too. I couldn't.
That's easy.
Yeah.
That I would do. But when it comes to the knee and the Achilles, yeah, I had to follow the rules. But when they allow me to start doing some of the other stuff, like, oh, now you can shuttle jump, you can do this and you can do that. I'm like, well, does that mean I can run up and down the floor too and cut this way? They're like, nah, not yet. But that part I'm bad at. All right, Kai Jones, what are your thoughts? Again, early on, I was a big no. Right now, Derek, they are desperate, man.
Well, so I think my perspective on this is two things. First of all, you're not throwing him like a long-term deal here. Mm-mm. So like, is he immature? Okay, maybe. Like, I'd have to ask around to see how deep that immaturity goes or how problematic the decision-making is. But you're not offering a multi-year deal. All you're saying is, can he help more than Mo Bamba?
For the rest of the season.
And here's where my concern is that when he did play for the Hornets, now he didn't play all that much. He didn't play all that big minutes. But he didn't seem all that impressive. Like, he was a project coming into the draft.
Yep.
Got drafted based on his athleticism.
23rd overall, I believe it was?
19th.
19th? Okay.
Hasn't really made the most of it. So my concern is less the immaturity because, like I said, if he comes in here and he's immature, you could just cut him. You just move on because you have 2 open roster spots. My concern is I'm just not sure he's ready to help a contender. And again, that might not even really matter because it's not like you're asking him to come in and be ready to play in the playoffs. You're just asking him to fill some minutes that would otherwise go to Mo Bamba. I think I'm probably a little more open to it than you, just because my hopes are less. I'm not making a long-term commitment. I'm just trying to not watch Mo Bamba for a couple weeks.
Yeah, that's fair. And I know who else is. Also, real fast, Broad Ford says, we need Kai Jones like we need Miles Bridges. GTFOH.
Oh, no, that's completely different. It's completely, I've said this before, I will burn this place to the fucking ground if they sign Miles Bridges.
Oh, I'm with you.
That is a bad person, and they should not willingly go and bring someone like that onto your team.
Totally different reasons why you don't want those guys. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, totally different.
I'm just not sure that Kai Jones can play basketball all that well yet.
Yeah, well. One guy who I think I know can play basketball. Oh, Al did say, by the way, no, Devon, even when you're clear, don't do it. Retire in all caps.
No, you can't retire.
I can't do that, Al. I'm not there yet. I have family and friends have also, and you are family and friend too, Al, but like my family and friends like, yo,
I think I've met Al enough. I can call him a friend.
Yeah. Let's like Mikhail's dad is like, dude, we're going golfing.
Yeah.
You're done. And he's one of them who taught me how to play basketball. All right, let's get to the arena. Guy who we know can play basketball and golf. And
there's no chance you're done, though. There's no. I know you too. There's no chance.
Yeah, you know me too well.
Yeah.
All right, our guy checking in from the arena. And he's also, as we said at the very top, the award-winning.
Wow, here we go.
Journalist. And congratulations, Kyle, on the award. Well-deserved. And we know how selfless you are when you talk about all of us. So before you give myself and Derek any credit, we're giving you the credit of how fantastic you are, which is why we wanted to work with you when we started this whole thing. So congratulations, man, on a great achievement and well-deserved.
Well, thank you. And I will accept it. But, obviously all about the team. So I consider it not just a us win, but a company win, and hopefully many more of those to come. Before you guys ask me any questions, I want to let you in on a very funny moment that happened tonight. The end of the press conference, I'm not sure if you saw on my Twitter at all. Paul Reed got asked directly, just, hey, look, good second half, guys rallied. How do you bottle up what happened in the second half and carry that into New York on Sunday? I'm going to read you the direct quote. He says, just knowing that the referees are going to be the referees and we're going to have to beat them too. Ooh. So we got to already be expecting that. And then to add on to it, Kelly Oubre comes in and it must have been 2-3 minutes later. So very little time has gone by at this point. And he gets asked the same question by the same reporter. And he goes, oh, I already heard about this question. So PR was already on the case. Like, hey, make sure you don't hard left turn into a complaint about the officials and get fined over that. So I don't know why Paul decided to do that, but we got a good chuckle out of it here. So, watch out for the ref assignments for a Sunday night against the New York Knicks at MSG, I guess.
What are your thoughts on that, Derek?
I mean, the refs were bad.
You
Like we
mentioned
said,
it a little while ago.
I really
Yeah.
don't like complaining about refs because you miss calls throughout the game just because some of them happen in high-profile moments don't make them more impactful. That being said, he was freaking out of bounds when he threw the ball off of his head. It was clear as day, and there were 2 blown calls right before then. That was frustrating. Yeah.
Was Payne restricting the view, though, laying on the floor right there where they couldn't see his foot?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Get the call right. I don't care.
I know. Get the call right. Kyle, Taylor 2 halves, man. Taylor 2 halves. First half down by 35. They come back, erase that deficit, get as close as 5. And with some opportunities there with the score down by 5 there late in the fourth quarter, but unable to overcome it all. What were your thoughts of, again, 2 halves, 2 different games?
Yeah, look, like I think overall, and I can get into Nick Nurse's view on everything. Overall, I wasn't displeased from an effort perspective. I do think even as it got out of hand in the first half, there were still flashes of guys crashing the boards, going after loose balls, so on and so forth. I do think the defense obviously was a problem, and that's what Nick hit on after the game. He said that their defensive discipline was terrible, and they weren't making them feel them at all. They didn't execute what their scheme was heading into the game. Like I would say tonight is probably the maddest I've seen Nick after a game. And he wasn't up here like yelling and screaming or anything, and he didn't throw anyone under the bus, but it was very clear. It was like the disappointed dad press conference, sitting there like, thought we could jump shoot our way into a lead to open the game, and we got what we deserved. We didn't play our brand of basketball, like that sort of deal. And it took him quite a while to get over here. So I would imagine there were a few words exchanged in the locker room. And look, I would say there are no moral victories here, right? Like this is not a up and coming team. This is a bunch of veterans that need to right the ship and hold things down without Joel, without Tyrese, and some of these other guys. But I at least give them credit for figuring it out. At halftime, Kelly Oubre said he was worried they were going to get booed out of the city entirely. And so that was a big motivator for him coming into the third and fourth quarter. But look, I'm sure you guys have hammered this, as we have said on several other podcasts up to this point. They just don't have the guys right now. Like, this is not a team that is built to win games with any regularity. They're going to have to get some good breaks. Like, New Orleans is not as good as they made them look in the first half, but that's a pretty solid playoff team, or at least like playoff hopeful, depending on how the West shakes out. And they got beat up pretty good. And once New Orleans let off the gas, that was the only time that they were able to get back into the game.
So in terms of, they shot 2 for 20 from 3 in the second half, or in the first half. A lot better in the second. I don't remember exactly what it is, but a lot better. Do you think it was just shots going in, or do you think the shots were being generated better? Because Nick talked about that, earlier before the game of, previous game, we were just driving in the paint, getting rejected all the time. There were a lot of drive and kick opportunities. How do you think they executed, I guess is what I would ask.
I mean, slightly better. Some of that is also because they got more stops in the second half, right? Like, you can get into early offense, transition offense, and get downhill, which the big problem for these guys right now, what are they supposed to do in the half court, right? Like, if Tobias Harris can't win an isolation matchup, you're essentially asking someone like Kyle Lowry of 6 years ago, great, like, have him run the half court offense, drive, kick, set guys up. Kyle Lowry without an advantage creator next to him, what is he supposed to do? He's 37 years old. He doesn't have the burst. He can't get by people. And so he's relegated to either he's mostly a catch and shoot guy or he's not doing much. And so it is what it is. Like, Payne can get downhill, generate looks for himself, but it's tough for him to create for others. Tobias Harris, not a creator for others. So it's a lot of guys that are, I wouldn't say by design, but they're isolated type of guys, reliant on a Maxey, a Joel Embiid, or people like that. And once you elevate them into these roles, it's just tough. So if they can get stops and avoid having to generate offense against set defenses, like zone gave them trouble for stretch of this stretches of this game tonight, right? And you're not going to face zone if you're running after a miss. Like, it's just harder to get back and get set up in a 2-3 if you're out on the break. So I think a lot of it comes down to that, and we've hammered that 100 times, right? That the defensive struggles are real for this group. It's hard to expect them, given the personnel, to be good on defense. But look, they were bought in, and I give Tobias a lot of flack, right? Like, I have not enjoyed his defensive effort. He stopped Zion at the rim multiple times tonight. Like, guys, I think we're wanting to be better and kind of overshoot where they've been on defense. There's just you can't expect them to do it for 48 minutes given the personnel that they have.
Right.
Speaking of that personnel, they're much better when Tyrese Maxey's on the floor. You and Derek were sitting courtside there for his workout before the game. He sat on the bench during the game as well, so the lights weren't too bad for overcoming the concussion protocol thing.
That guitarist national anthem guy might have, look, if he doesn't play Sunday, I'm going to point some fingers at the loudest opening riff.
Were you there
I've
at that
ever
point?
heard in my life.
That was loud. That was like, yeah, that completely
was
threw me
really
off.
loud. That was really
and
loud.
I listen to my music as loud as any single person I know, and that was like, I feel the inside of my head rattling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, with that, how did you feel he looked just going through a normal workout? And what did Nick Nurse say before you guys even had a chance to sit there and watch that workout?
Yeah, so Nick said he's progressing through the concussion protocol. I think he's through maybe the first step or two, which is are the symptoms gone at a resting state? And now we're at how does he respond after a workout like that? So, like, he looked fine. Like, he's going through his normal paces as far as I can tell in the workout. What we don't know is how does Tyrese Maxey feel right now at 10:50 on Friday night, or how does he feel tomorrow morning after the workout, after he sleeps and goes home and what have you. So that's going to be the test here. And if he gets through that, as far as I can remember, that's kind of the most important step to getting back. It's one of the final things. So Nick seemed fairly optimistic, but there have been a lot of times this year where Nurse has sounded optimistic and then the guy has missed like 4 more games. So I don't want to lead anybody astray and be like, oh yeah, he's definitely going to play Sunday. So sounds good, looks good, we'll see. I feel like that's the slogan of the 23-24 Sixers season.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know if I have. That was we were sitting there going like, well, what notes can you actually take from the first half? Because that was some of the worst effort I've seen. Would you say that's the worst effort? Not effort, but worst performance you've seen in the half since you've been on the beat?
One of them for sure. I'd have to go back and really dig through the archives.
Because I was trying to think about that. The only one I can remember that compared was San Antonio in 2015, and I think that was probably just before you started.
Yeah,
you started in
I was
2017.
blogging and what have you, but yeah, I wasn't actually like full time. Yeah, so it's the worst one I can remember. It's one that I understood it as it was happening, but it's still like for people who are spending their Friday nights either at home, at a bar, paying money to come to the game.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it any less frustrating for them that this is the product they're getting right now. So like, I know we all try to be voices of reason, but I want people to hear this and be sure that like, I hear you and I get you. Like, nobody wants to watch this. The Sixers certainly don't want to put on performances like this, but it's tough sledding right now. So as I keep saying, please get well soon, Tyrese, so that we all have something exciting to watch around here.
See, when you have to pull anything out of the air, where a bad basketball game like it was in the first half and then turning things around in the second, you have to make sure that you get that type of stuff from a pen and pencil award winner, pen and pencil club award winner.
When I was in college, like late college, just out of college, we used to go there all the time because they're open till 4 a.m. That was our post bar drinking spot. Mm-hmm. So now to have grown up and be able to say that I work with a pen and pencil award winner It is a highlight of my professional career.
Yep.
Oh, get the hell out of here! Enough over there. I appreciate the sentiment, but
Let's make them more.
we don't have to
uncomfortable.
lay it on this thing.
I would be the same way, and so would you. So that's why we're making you uncomfortable with it. But we had to acknowledge it. And if you want to read Kyle's thoughts from this game,
It's
you
an
just heard
award-winning
some.
column.
Award-winning column. You go to allphly.com to check out the recap from Kyle Newbeck.
It's honestly,
on
it's
this
rare
Friday.
to see Kyle like awkward, so I'm really enjoying this. I'm
I'm gonna have to go to the pen and pencil club and hide from you two.
Have a beverage. They're open.
Have a Coors
Yeah.
Light, man. You know, it's part of the show tonight.
I don't actually know if they have Coors Light, but if they do, I'll make
Hey,
sure to.
they'll
let
do
them know,
that
hey,
for an award
Not
winner.
only am I an award winner, I am
You're award winner.
sponsored by Coors.
Because I might not be an award winner, but I am a member there. If they don't have Coors Light, we might have to withdraw our membership.
I'll have to talk. I'll have my people talk to their people
All right.
and see if we can come to some kind of resolution.
You have the direct in, man. We can get in anytime we want now. We all good. Hey, man.
Yeah, as
listen.
long as you pay your dues.
Hey, man, we'll be back on Sunday for the pregame show for the Sixers as they take on the Knicks. So, Kyle, have a good rest of your Friday. Enjoy your Saturday, man. We'll see you on Sunday. Congrats again.
Sounds good, fellas. I don't know if I should say get home safe tonight because I don't want to hear this anymore. But I'm just
Wow, we pick on him a little bit, and he's wishing ill on us.
I'm just kidding. Get home safe, guys. I'll see you Sunday evening.
Yep.
All right,
Me
man.
too.
See you, Kyle Newbeck
Maybe.
again. Congratulations to Kyle, the Pen and Pencil Club Award winner for 2020.
really
is
is-
it 2024 or 2023? 24.
2020, I think 2023.
Yeah, 2023. Okay.
Really is wild. When I was a network engineer, or at least going to college to be a network engineer, I went to the Pen and Pencil Club a lot more than now that I've gotten journalism. Went there more as an engineer than as a journalist. Weird.
Now you get to go as a journalist.
Might have to stop
'cause
there.
you gotta-
Celebrate Kyle.
gotta-
Maybe do they put a plaque up for him?
got
I
a
got to
plaque.
check this out.
He
I
has a
gotta find
plaque.
out.
I would hope they put one on the wall. Yeah.
You got it. Can you really be a journalism bar if you don't have a picture of Kyle Newbeck on there?
No, it's not possible. Let's go to our other super chat from Davon. He's just rolling in on a Friday night. We don't have the personnel to get Buddy the looks, folks. Be easy on him. Chat. He's best with shooters, with size, like Barnes, McLemore, Bogdan, Brogdon, etc.
I mean, this is what I was saying earlier. His role is to make an open three when it's there, cause indecision when it's not there. You want him to cause a defense to hesitate to send a double team to Joel Embiid so Joel Embiid can be more efficient. That's what his role is. Right now, you're asking him to do that with Paul Reed, and it's just not the same.
It's not the same.
Just not
It's
the same.
totally different.
And again, that doesn't excuse everything. Like, his defense needs to be better. Off ball, he's been pretty bad here the last week defensively. But I care about that more than I care about his lack of offensive productivity, because what he was doing the first 4 games, especially when you remove not only Embiid, but then remove Tyrese Maxey from the lineup, that was completely unsustainable.
Yep.
Completely.
Yep. All right. That's pretty much going to do it for us, right?
Yeah, I think
we have a
that's it.
pregame show Sunday before the Knicks game. We're here with you. So 6:30, we'll be right here. Derek, Kyle, myself will have the pregame coverage for you, presented by our good friends right here from Coors Light.
Yeah.
And so we hope to see you then right here. And I got to say this too before Kyle O. He shared some donation in the super chat. He also says, love this show. Really nice to hear great analysis of a bad team, which I love. Bad team since Embiid has left, but a good team overall,
Yeah.
a contender, if you will, overall. But we thank you, Kyle O. We really appreciate the kind words. Trying to do our best here, even on nights like this where the product overall wasn't all that great. All right, we got a lot of people to say goodnight to and thank for jumping on in here. Who do we have?
Start off with the super chats. Davon left a couple. Always shouting out Davon, a.k.a. Schoolboy Beats.
What up, Schoolboy Beats?
We also had Bernard McCoy.
Nard.
What do we have? Kyle O as well.
Thank you again,
appreciate
Kyle.
all of you. In terms of everyone else, we have SB Coles, my guy, Sir Shmooey,
What up, Shmooey?
Jay of the Jungle, 2 Minute Warning, Eugene, Kyle, Walter, Brandon B,
Gene.
Coach Lil Ricketts, Prophet,
What up, Coach?
Martian. I was waiting for that. But you not saying what up, Coach, it kind of threw me off.
Oh, my bad. Hey, Winona.
Front running fan base, Winona, Bernard, Philly Insider, Bootzilla.
Boots.
I think that's, we got Philly. I said Philly Insider. Yep.
You missed one.
I think that's
He's in there.
I said that.
Al.
Oh, what up, Al?
What up, Al?
Yeah, that's right. I
He's
did
in
forget
there.
him.
Yeah, we got Al.
Yeah, And there's a couple more, but, if you're trolling, I'm not going to mention you. So you know who you are.
And we appreciate everybody for hanging out with us. Like and subscribe there. And when you do, of course, you'll get that icon that jumps right in there and does that to let you know that it's showtime, like you will get for Sunday, 6:30. So you're like, oh, normally we get them post-game or 2:30 on the non-game days. Well, sometimes you get the pregame. So when you like and subscribe, like tonight, let me like right now. So let me help that out right there. Thumbs up, bang, right there. You do that. You also subscribe and you want to know when the show is getting ready to drop.
I forget to do that all the time.
That.
I've almost never liked our own videos.
I do.
So if
that's not cheating. I mean,
that's not cheating.
No.
If I'm sitting here, I'm watching it right now. I'm streaming it.
Yeah.
And if I forget to do it, then I'm assuming you guys probably forget to do it too. But if you could remember to go hit that like button, we're not going to shame you for not doing it in the past, but we would really appreciate if you could do it right now.
And we already get the bells. Gene said ring the bell. Al ring the bell. We rung the bell. We got to make one more person uncomfortable.
Who's that?
Our great producer, Bree.
She's great.
It's National Women's Day, right? Women's Day here. And we want to say a great job as always, and a thank you. The show wouldn't be what the show is without our great producer, Brianna. And a few times people are like, oh, who's Bree? Who's Bree? Brianna is our great producer. So on National, Women's Day, we want to make sure that we shout out Brianna for doing a great job as always. She's not on camera, but she's uncomfortable right now.
She is the best and most reliable person on this team, and we even have an award winner.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's not hard. That is hard to do. National Women's Day there, Brianna. Thank you so much, Bree. Appreciate it. Great job, everybody. Have a great rest of your Friday night. Enjoy your Saturday, and we will talk to you on Sunday pregame before Sixers-Knicks. Good night.
We all silly like the mayor.